Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
War Eagle, and welcome to another edition of Ever to Podcast, our somewhat regular get-together here in podcast format to catch you up on the Auburn experience. It's what we cover, after all, here at E2C Network. That Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. And we thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to be getting into today here on this episode 9, I believe it is at this point, of Ever to Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis. Today's date is May 22nd, 2025. As always, we want to catch you up on the latest news, topics, other discussions, just things that are on top of my mind as well in the Auburn space, and plenty, as always, to get into today. I want to start today's show by doing not necessarily a news item, which we will get to those in a second, but something that has been a conversation point for me across many platforms of what we do here at E2C Network. And even last night on Auburn Family Night. Every Wednesday night at 9 Eastern Time, we do Auburn Family Night. There's a highlight reel out if you want to check out what you missed from last night. Some great conversations, very funny moments with guests as well. It's our call-in show. But we talked about last night with one of our callers the importance, again, of the offensive line. And if you've listened to our content, watched our content, just seen my takes on this, one of the areas that I've been more critical of has been our offensive line play for several years now. And listen, everybody's got their opinions about why that is and where that began, all that stuff. We're probably all wrong in that. But the reality is this, is that I think we can all recognize that not necessarily as individuals, but as a unit, the offensive line for Auburn football has not been consistent enough over the last, several doesn't even do justice, but we're probably talking about 4 or 5 years, 5 years at this point. And, I try to be very constructive in my criticism of that, so I don't want this to come across as trying to nitpick on something or be rude to any of those players or even that unit, but I think it's something we all recognize. They recognize offensive line play's got to be better. But what we were talking about on that is we felt, and that caller did, his name is Thomas Manville, one of our regulars and a member of our booster club. It used to be called the Booster Club, the Conquer Club now, which you can access if you have any interest in that. You can DM us and we'll give you the details. But we're talking about the potential group that's going to be there for Auburn. And as we were talking, and I've always talked fondly about the 2010 offensive line group and how important they were, because a lot of people like to talk about Cam Newton, rightfully so, and how he changed the trajectory of that team, but he doesn't get to change that trajectory if he's not surrounded with good players all around, and the team is surrounded with good players, but specifically his offensive line. And so finally, I sat down and I was like, I can name, and there's a reason for this, right? This shows you how important that offensive line unit was, that I could name the majority of them, but there was 2 that I could never get straight in my head for some reason, and I finally have figured it out again, who those were supposed to be. So here was that offensive line. I want to take you back to 2010 for a second, just to give them the credit they deserve. And this is what we talked about last night. Obviously, Ryan Pugh at center. The 2 guards, which I think are 2 of the best guards that we've had as a tandem in quite some time, Byron Isom and Mike Berry. They could pull like no other in that Gus Malzahn offense. Lee Zimba. He did jump off sides a lot. We love you, Lee. But he was still a great tackle for us as well. But that other tackle side, I kept trying to put Chad Slade over there, which he is part of that group over there. In fact, if you go look at the roster of the offensive line back then, you're going to see a ton of names that eventually would become starters and become greats there. But the other 2 that kind of rotated in together, or Brandon Mosley seems like he was the starter now that I've had my recollection, but also A.J. Green as well. Both were listed as juniors, I think, at that time. So the 2 of them together seemed like they were part of like a core 5 to 6 of that offensive line that was so strong, so great. There were other great names that were freshmen or younger at the time. I mentioned Chad Slade. You also had Jarrell Bostrom, who was going to be part of that group as well. John Sullen. And many others as well that we don't even have time to get into. But that core group, that 5 to 6, I think reflecting it back to what started our conversation in Auburn Family Night, I think there's a core group similarly developing now at Auburn that I hope and is starting to get me excited about what the future of the offensive line could be for this upcoming team. So relating the past to the current and trying to give you a little bit of hope about where we might be heading. Let's get into some news things, and we're going to actually go to the pros in a sense, and not necessarily the United States pros, but the overseas pros. And we're talking about Wendell Green. Today on social media, he's getting a lot of clout and shout-outs for participating in the All-Kosovo, the Eurobasketball. This is Eurobasketball.com. I'm not really sure what the league is called. Is it Eurobasketball, the All-Kosovo Superliga Awards? But my man is cleaning up over there. And can we just acknowledge this? I think Wendell left a little bit early than maybe he needed to, maybe, and it's his decision. I don't know what all went into that decision, but I would have loved to see him stick around for a little bit longer if it had worked out, and there may not have been a spot for him on the team in the next year. I don't know, but he is doing very well for himself outside of the NBA. Certainly, he did not and has not yet gotten an opportunity legitimately at the NBA, but in these European leagues, in summer leagues, as we talked about with War Ready, Wendell Green is showing up and showing out. He played with War Ready last year and became the talk of the tournament very early on for what he did, and he's already back for War Ready this year. But with the All-Kosovo Superliga Awards for 2025, he's like the headline guy for it. He gets Player of the Year, and the team that he plays for, Bash. Oh, wow, I'm not going to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Y'all don't want to see me struggle through that. But he gets Player of the Year, Import Player of the Year, Guard of the Year. So 3 awards on this alone. Wendell Green is cleaning up in this European league and doing very strong. So that should get you excited for what he's going to bring to the table with War Ready this year. You're going to hear us talk about them probably a lot here because we need obviously something Auburn to focus on during the summer. But I love shouting out our players when they go to the pros, whether they are in the NFL, NBA, or playing overseas, or if they're playing in some of the semi-pro leagues in like football here now. We love to celebrate our Auburn guys here, and I hope that you'll continue to do that for guys like Wendell Green. Plenty of opportunities to celebrate and see them even this summer right now. So obviously this week and leading up to this week, there's been a lot of focus on the SEC tournament. And yes, I am recording this as the baseball team has just started playing their game today versus Texas A&M. Now, I'm looking on the screen right now to kind of see if anything has happened. Looks like Cam Tilley got off to a great start. Knocking on wood, hoping I'm not jinxing anything by talking about it live right now. By the time you've listened to this, the game is probably getting close to being done, if not over already. Hopefully we're talking about an Auburn Tigers win. But I just kind of want to update you on things and see where the tournament is at, because I know even though it's not directly specifically focused on Auburn, it does have implications for Auburn. Alabama, was beaten by Tennessee in the second round. Oklahoma is kind of the upstart so far of this tournament, having upset Georgia, number 5 seed Georgia. We're taking on Vanderbilt, it looks like, today as well. Tennessee will also be taking on Texas today, too. So there's 3 games with the whole schedule switch around. You know, Auburn was supposed to play yesterday because of the weather. They had to bump them back as the late game to today. So it's almost like they got the double bye. Not really on the bracket the way it lays out, but in terms of the schedule, they got the extra rest that maybe I don't know if they needed it or not, but Texas A&M, Auburn, Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, that's the games today to be paying attention to. And then Friday, the last of the quarterfinals, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and then the winner of Auburn and Texas A&M today will play LSU as the last game on Friday. That's how it shook out right now. Really, outside of Oklahoma, it looks like everything is pretty chalk right now. Now, if Texas A&M knocks off Auburn, then certainly that could make things a little bit interesting. But the top of the top are rising to it, and it's making for a great hopefully weekend in the SEC tournament in Hoover, Alabama. I've heard from a lot of you guys that are going to support Auburn, but are even going, the nights before to just out to Hoover. If you're in the Birmingham area or close to it, it seems like a lot of people make this time of year, even as an Auburn fan, even if your team's not currently in it or performing well in it, seems like a lot of people get excited about this tournament. I'm excited one day to be able to go out there myself and check it out too. So keep up with the Auburn Tigers. Even if it doesn't go the way we want in this SEC tournament today or the rest of it, they are representing themselves well, and we'll see how they get seeded in the NCAA tournament with the great season that they've had. There's a couple other news story items out there that we'll get into tomorrow, but for the purposes of our time today, we're going to wrap it up there. Couple of reminders for you before you head out, though. As always, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and leave a review if you can on the podcast app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're watching it. That is a huge, huge help if you can do that for us. As always, do check out the rest of our podcasts there. You can still find episode 125 of the Auburn Experience, our main podcast out there. Listen to that if you haven't done so already. YouTube, all the social medias out there that you could want. Make sure you're checking in on all of those different things. And we're enjoying talking with you every single day during the midweek, or during the work days, I guess you should say, here with Ever to Podcast. And we appreciate you spending some time with us today to catch up on the Auburn Experience. Until we get to talk to you again later, War Eagle.